Podcasts, as we know it, will never be the same again. It's To Be Blunt with PC. Tune in every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time at 2BBluntPodcast.com.
Sports fans, there's finally a sports platform dedicated to everybody who lives and breathes the entertainment of the sports world. Championship Circle is the realest, most passionate sports show out right now. Tune in to Championship Circle Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on sportstalkchannel.com, Spotify, iTunes, and any other of your music platforms.
Good news, mixed martial arts fans. Your favorite MMA podcast is now right here on Sports Talk Channel. Each week, join me, Aaron Weinbaum, as I pick the most anticipated fights from the UFC, Bellator, and more. Remember, I'm a hardcore MMA fight fan, just like you. Miss some of the action? Go to AaronSaysWhat.com, click on the MMA Fight Picks tab, and find your favorite way to catch up.
Do you like college football? Of course you do. Do you like college basketball? Of course you do. Do you like the NFL? And do you like in-depth coverage on a lot of other things like basketball, pro wrestling? Of course you do! Check us out at the Playmakers Blog Podcast, featuring Darnell the Playmaker Solins and yours truly, Dallas Glenn. We're on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and now SportsTalkChannel.com.
Tired of the same sports shows with pre-written lines? Tired of sports shows that are scared to say what's really on their mind? Then tune into Championship Circle, hosted by Cordell Bowser, one of the newest.
He shook up the world, and I'm not talking about Kobe. Cole Sports presents On the Daily.
Welcome to Cole Sports. You have entered the zone called sports on another level. And now, here's your host, Cole Johnson.
As always, thank you so much, Spike. Cole Johnson on the mic. Cole Sports presents On the Daily is coming right at you. And, after that fight that we saw this weekend, we had a memorial. And we're going to go right into that. Topic of the day, please. And so, the epicenter of the sports world was in Los Angeles. To be blunt, the Staples Center. The sports world and the entertainment world descended upon this arena, where later on that night we were going to see the Lakers play. But people weren't going there for a game. No, they were going there to celebrate the life, not necessarily mourn the death as much, but celebrate the life of Gianna Bryant and Kobe Bryant. And, of course, because of that, we're going to celebrate the lives of the 7 others who tragically lost their lives in the helicopter accident which took place, almost a month ago to the day. In fact, tomorrow will be exactly 1 month when the tragic accident happened. And there were many who wowed us and gave us a lot of things to think about. Jimmy Kimmel hosted the event. You had Beyonce who sang. You had Alicia Keys who played. You had Christina Aguilera who sang as well. And you also had people who spoke. Michael Jordan, of course. And he possibly gave us another crying Jordan meme. But I really wouldn't care if that happened because that man's heart was in the right place and he talked like an older brother. And it was beautiful and heart-wrenching at the same time. Then, in a different bent, the older brother in on court for Kobe, Shaq, or Shaquille O'Neal. Sorry, Dr. Shaquille O'Neal. He spoke and he gave a good anecdote about the time he said that Kobe earned his respect, and I'll say it. Quote, the time that Kobe earned my respect, the other players on the team were saying to me, Kobe doesn't want to pass us the ball. And so I went to Kobe and I said to him, look, Kobe, there's no I in team. And Kobe responded, you're right, but there's an M-E in that MFer. Close quote. That was Kobe. That was Kobe. Any way he can make his team win, whether he had to put so much of himself in imprinting upon how the team performed, or stand back and let others do it. Even at the young age of probably then when he said it, that event happened probably when Kobe was 19 or 20. He had an understanding and an IQ of basketball far beyond his years. But all of those, along with Diana Taurasi and Gino Auriemma, and I will talk more extensively about this in the weekend edition of Cole Sports. But right now, I want to talk about the person who touched me and touched my heart the most, hands down. It wasn't an athlete. It wasn't a legend. It wasn't a Hall of Famer. It was the gorgeous, beautiful wife of 19 years of Kobe Bryant, Vanessa. And so before everyone else spoke, she spoke first. And the Staples Center crowd was absolutely warm and uproarious. They gave her a loud, roaring standing ovation before and after her beautiful, beautiful speech and eulogy. What I loved about that whole moment was you saw her knowing how difficult this is, because for her, this is day number 30 of dealing, at the time, day number 30 of dealing with the loss of her best friend and husband and her second oldest child. And so she was gracious and she thanked the crowd for the applause, and the crowd roared more. And as the crowd settled down, she took a very deep breath. And when she exhaled, she said, okay. I felt her when she did that. I felt her, and it pierced through me. And then she went on for 20 minutes to talk about the beauty of her daughter and her husband in beautiful, rich, glorious detail. She was composed. She was emotionally raw. She was honest. She was earnest. She was hurt. She was vulnerable. She was gorgeous. And I don't mean gorgeous in the sexual sense. I mean, she was gorgeous in the life sense. You're seeing this person go through the most horrific event any of us can endure. Because even though seeing our parents pass is hard enough, I still contend the most painful death that any of us could ever endure doesn't deal with our siblings or our parents or our friends. They hurt because they mean so much to us. But the most painful one is definitely the person who you thought was going to outlive you. And now here you are, you're outliving them. That doesn't necessarily go to Kobe. That's tied to Gianna. And so here is Vanessa. She's 3 months shy of 38. And she has to face the fact that she won't get a chance to see her second oldest daughter grow up to be the woman that she was going to become, because it looked like she was going to be a beast of a basketball player. But you still had that sense that she was going to be a full-fledged woman along with this beast of a basketball player she was going to become. because she was going to learn modeling from her mother and basketball from her father. And so just think about this wonderful, beautiful person who was going to grow up to have these Hollywood gorgeous model looks and the femininity that comes from a mother, with this cut your throat competitive spirit and the zeal to learn about everything in life and be a Renaissance woman from a Renaissance man in her father. That was wrapped up in Gianna. And now here's this mother of this ingenue, and now she has to deal with day number 30 of no longer seeing her on earth and not seeing her growth. That has to be the most painful death any of us would have to get through, because death, you won't ever get over and you won't ever get past. You can only get through it, because there's going to be days, and I know Vanessa has already dealt with it. There are going to be days where you can breathe, you can go through life and everything is great. And there's going to be other days where you want the curtains drawn, you want the door closed and locked, you want the covers to be over your head, and you don't want to deal with anybody in the world. I'm sure that is what Vanessa, Natalia, and her two younger daughters, maybe not as much as Natalia and Vanessa herself, but I'm sure that's what they all have to deal with. And then there is the bond that you have with a husband or a wife, in Vanessa's case, husband, where you have your best friend and you go through life, and no matter how mundane or how exciting life is, you get to share this wonderful experience that we call life with somebody who is unlike any other person in your life. And you get to laugh with them. You get to joke with them. You get to cry with them. You get to be as vulnerable as you can be with them, as intimate as you can with them. And sometimes you get as angry as possible with them, because you think this person gets you, but you sometimes forget, just like I do, just like my wife does, just like anybody does. Oh, wait a minute. This is another human being. Oh, so we are symbiotic in a lot of ways, but there's some ways we're not. All of those things tie into the bond that a husband and wife share. And so she won't get those Valentine's Day presents and those anniversary gifts that Kobe, as Vanessa said in her eulogy, was apt to give. They won't get to travel around the world and learn about one another and learn about the world as how the other sees it through their eyes as they're going through traveling the world together. They won't again get to experience how life was in Italy for Kobe. And even though Vanessa is American, she has Mexican ties. She won't get to have that again with him. And most importantly, she won't get the chance ever again to look over and see the one person who's meant to love her, nurture her, protect her, provide for her, and just straight up love on her and love her for who she is. Not for what she looks like, not for what she can give him. He loves her for who Vanessa is, how she innately is. So what we saw for that 21 minutes was a woman who showed us this was a man and a woman to be who loved life and ate it all up and enveloped it and wanted to learn as much as they could at that time and as much as they could handle so that they could be better. Didn't matter. basketball players, entrepreneurs, business people, didn't matter. Students, it didn't matter. They had a hunger and zest and zeal for life. And now their lives turn into lessons for all of us, because we got to have that zeal and that zest and that love for life. I pray to the Bryant family, but I definitely pray for Vanessa, because I really do hope healing comes to her in a way where when she has the tough times to get through it, she can have the composure then, as she showed yesterday in front of 20,000 people, most of whom she never met. Thank you, Vanessa, for showing us how beautiful and gorgeous your heart really is. And that's your topic of the day. Later, we will talk about which NFL teams are going to get the monkey off their back, like the Chiefs did earlier this month. But immediately following the break, Michael Fears, who said he didn't need protection, now possibly does. Come on back. And tell them who you think is the February 2020's Dolt of the Month. All you have to do is call the Cole Sports Hotline. The VIP Safe Zone is waiting for you. Area code 615-988-5196. That's 615-988-5196. Give us your take as to what you think is the topic of the day in your world and the topic of the week in your world, and we will talk about it for sure. And whatever questions you may have, bring it to Cole as well. And also, don't forget, who is February 2020's Dolt of the Month? 615-988-5196. That's 615-988-5196. Still trying to get over this cold a bit. Now, Mike Fears. Now, we didn't really know his name. I should say I knew his name because I'm an Astros fan. But most people didn't know this guy's name until, November? And now he is in front news pages. Why? Because after he was talking big, bad, and bold, saying, I don't need protection, now comes this. So the whistleblower last week said that he received death threats since he exposed the 2007 electronic sign stealing scheme and scandal. But he said he wasn't too worried. Well, okay, let him say it. Quote, whatever, I don't care. I've dealt with a lot of death threats before. It's just another thing on my plate. Close quote. Now, Fears said that to the San Francisco Chronicle. Now, Fears was on the Astros in 2017. Now he is 3 years later. He is on the team of one of the Astros' divisional rivals, Oakland Athletics. Now, despite all the harsh backlash that the players are bringing upon the Astros and fans going overboard, Fears really says he isn't worried about his well-being. And so he stupidly is not going to need or seek extra security from Major League Baseball. He went on to further explain this by saying, quote, "I'm not asking for extra security. I'm here to play baseball, and I can defend myself, if anything. We do have National League games, and I'm going to have to get in the box to hit, just like everybody else. It's part of the game. If they decide to throw at me, then they throw at me. There's nothing much you can do about it." Close quote. Now, Fears, of course, is not the only one who's received death threats, because you have current Astros outfielder Josh Reddick, who openly said that not only did he receive death threats, but he said that the fans said that they hoped that Riddick's son would actually contract cancer. Okay, Fears, this is what I believe, son. You know those two flaps that's on your head? Yeah, you call it a mouth. You know what it's like when you put the top lip and the bottom lip together? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It looks wonderful when it's sealed shut. Well, that's what you should do, son, because you should keep your trap shut. There shouldn't be any syllables coming out your mouth. The only thing you should be saying to any reporter that slides a mic under your mouth is, "I'm prepared for the 2020 season." Forget the fact that I sang my butt off as soon as I got on the first thing smoking out of Houston, that I got in the Bush and the Continental, and I flew out to the West Coast, and now I'm in the Yay area, and now I'm going to sing like a songbird. Forget that. I am focused on 2020. That is what should be coming out of your mouth, son. Not daring people, especially the National League, since, yes, we all do now have interleague games that we see and that you all play now. Don't invite trouble. That's something my father, he never said it in those words, but that's something that he vocalized to me in different ways. He would say, "Son, when it's all said and done, look, your mouth can get you in trouble." But he would say it this way. He would say, you know what? Don't write a check that your butt can't cash. And Fears is writing checks his butt can't cash. And the only way that I can see him defending himself, he probably could throw hands. But I can also see him rely on the ball. And that if someone were to want to do some damage to him on the field, well, he can throw chin music around the batter's throat, butt, knee, heck, crotch even. It doesn't have to go that far. I mean, it's ridiculous that we have to deal with this anyway, because sign stealing is a part of the culture of Major League Baseball anyway. Now we have to deal with the idiocy that is, you have this genteel approach and that you shouldn't do advantages to sign stealing. It's sometimes I'm apoplectic and almost driven to silence when I'm dealing with all this. Yet this continues to be a story because we continue to have these players who have brain dead moments. Fears, the whistleblower himself, seems to have some brain dead moments. Because what did he think? Whether it is Astros fan doing it to you, or MLB fan doing it to you, or even A's fan doing it to you, It does not matter. Because to me, former Red Sox great and soon-to-be Hall of Famer David Ortiz, he hit the nail on the head when he said that here you are, you benefited from these electronic sign stealing techniques. Then you go away and you start to say, wait a minute, there was a competitive disadvantage that you all suffered through because my former team did it. Now, if you did it while you were still on the Astros, that would be a whole lot more admirable to me, even to me. And I'm an Astros fan. That would be more admirable to me. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me they're doing some sign stealing stuff and there's an Astros player saying something about it? That is admirable. What you're doing, Fears, that is not admirable. That's basically sour grapes because you possibly were not going to be picked up and you said, okay, well, hey, the first moment I get a chance to get out of here, oh yeah, you can best believe I'm going to get a chance to say something about it. Now, if this was your new team and you kept it in-house, I'd probably say, you know what, I could respect that too. Because to me, I'm thinking, and I'm not saying this because I'm an Astros fan, I'm thinking it because I'm an MLB fan, that sign stealing is a part of the sport. Like, teams steal signs like we breathe. I mean, that's seriously what I think. Teams steal signs like we even breathe, like we take in air. Oh, someone's stealing a sign. I mean, that's just how it is to me. Because, and I've said this, and I will continue to say this time immemorial. If this is baseball now. Now, it may apply in other sports, but baseball, it applies more than any other place and any other sporting spectacle on this planet. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, and it is only cheating if you get caught. The Astros got caught thanks to your loose lips sinking that ship. Thank you, Tupac, and I Get Around. And that is what that's what's happening here. So, Fears, you're probably going to get more than death threats. And don't be so cavalier in thinking that you can protect yourself, because this is not just your average garden variety everyday, just fans who dislike me because I'm wearing a uniform different from their team that they root for. No. The Houston Astros, thanks to your lips and your mouth and your vocal cords, are public enemy number one. There is a team that is more hated than the Yankees and the Red Sox for the first time, dare I say, since what? Maybe the Big Red Machine in the 1970s? And they weren't hated because they were horrible. They were hated because they were the cream of the crop. And we haven't seen a team that ruled Major League Baseball like them since them, and we're talking 45 years ago now. So now we have a team that's more hated than the Yankees. Thanks to you, Fears. And you got many people who are still on their high horse, who are going to take their shots, whether through baseball, through bats, through crowds throwing stuff at them, through players talking noise about them, or through fans taking pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and to type, "Forget you, you need to go." You're not the first, you won't be the last, and this will not be the last time you're dealing with this because of your whistleblowing ways, Fears. You should not be so cavalier, because that's going to possibly cost you the rest of your career, because you never know how far these fans are willing to take their anger and their animus on you. And as we come back from the break, we're going to touch on the NFL a little bit. What teams do you think are going to get over that hump like the Chiefs did? And, of course, we're going to rewind a special event in boxing. Something you want to say to Cole? Well, say it with your chest! Go to speakpipe.com/Cole Sports with a Z and record, speak, send. Repeat, record, speak, send. It is that simple. That is at speakpipe.com/Cole Sports with the Z. Come on now, be bold and brave and say it with your chest. You've reached the bottom of the hour. Cole Johnson here. Cole Sports presents On the Daily is here. And I thank you for making this show one of the most beautiful things that joins your day. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me with this cup of coffee I'm enjoying this morning. Thank you, RTL Sports Network. And thank you, even Snowman Digital Media. I appreciate you both. And what I want to get to now is we had an interesting development here. So join me here. So 3 weeks ago, we had Super Bowl 54, and we had the Chiefs beat the 49ers. Now, you're saying, well, okay, fine. We know Chiefs beat 49ers. 31-20 was the final score. Yeah, Chiefs scored 3 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. Yeah, Cole. We got that. We know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the long drought that the Chiefs had between the last time they won the Super Bowl and now. And their drought lasted and their drought lasted 50 years and 1 month, because they won their last Super Bowl in the first weekend in January 1970. So now the Chiefs no longer have the longest dry spell of a team that has won an NFL championship of a Super Bowl nature. They're now the defending champs. And with their win, they extended the 49ers dry spell to now extending to 25 years. Now, there's still a few teams who haven't had the glory of hoisting the Lombardi Trophy over their heads. The Browns, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Texans, the Titans are a few of those teams. But who do you think has the possibility of having a Chiefs-level breakthrough come Super Bowl 55, which, of course, will be played in February of 2021? Okay, here are the teams that would be up for that list. So you have the Jaguars, as I mentioned earlier. They've never been in the Super Bowl. The closest they got was the AFC Championship game. They've gotten there 3 different times, and, of course, they whiffed all 3 times. There's the Carolina Panthers. They've gotten to the Super Bowl 2015. They didn't win it, of course. They lost to the Broncos 27-10. You have the Cincinnati Bengals. They also have gotten to the Super Bowl. In fact, they've gotten to the Super Bowl not once, but twice. And they lost both times, and both times they lost to the same team, which would be the 49ers. Now, they, of course, hold the number 1 overall draft pick. Chances are possible they won't even come close to sniffing that, sniffing anywhere being in the AFC champs or the Lamar Hunt champs come January of 2021. I don't see that happening. I don't think this is going to be a worst to first type of scenario like the 1998 to 1999 Rams. You have the Washington NFL franchise, who have a longer dry spell than the 49ers do. 49ers have achieved their championship hoisting since 1995. The Washington NFL franchise haven't done it since 1992, as they were the champs in the 1991 season. And they haven't even come close since then. And for those who want to keep up with the letters, that was Super Bowl 26. The aforementioned Lions, the closest they have come has been the NFC Championship game 27 years ago. And, 28 years ago. And they were outclassed by the aforementioned team beforehand, the Washington NFL franchise. And the Lions haven't won any championship in 62 years. I think the last time they won the NFL championship, it was 1957. The Los Angeles and former San Diego Chargers. Now, they did the Super Bowl 29. They promptly got whooped by the 49ers. And of course, that was the 49ers' last Super Bowl win. But they have had hard luck, whether it was Dan Fouts as the quarterback or Phillip Rivers. They have hit hard walls when it's come to the playoffs. The Arizona Cardinals. Now, they haven't won the Super Bowl. They have been to one. In fact, they lost in heartbreaking fashion in 2009 when they had the lead late in the fourth quarter, but a Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes touchdown pass, and I think it was from 15 yards, pretty much sealed the deal, and I think that was with about 35-ish seconds left to go in the game. Do I see them making it that far? No. And they have a young quarterback in Kyler Murray, so they have their growing pains still, even though they have a stud on defense in Chandler Jones. And they have a pretty decent stud, too, in the secondary with Patrick Peterson. The Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Last time they won the Super Bowl, I was 11? No, not 11. I was 8 months old. That's the last time they won the Super Bowl. 1974. Now, they've been to the Super Bowl since then. In fact, they've been to it twice since then. 1983, and they got upended by Washington. And then in 1985, and they got upended by the 49ers. And Dan Marino, unfortunately, only went to one Super Bowl. One of the most egregious travesties in sports is that. The fact that this guy, who was as great of a quarterback as you'll ever find, he only went to the Super Bowl once in his second year. His first full year starting, his second year, and they didn't go back, Dolphins, didn't go back to the Super Bowl since then. In fact, they got to the championship, the AFC Championship game, I think 9 years later, the 1993 season, but it was 1994. And the Bills just had their way with them. And the Dolphins had home field advantage that game even. Then you had the Chicago Bears, who won the Super Bowl, of course. We all remember Super Bowl 20. That's 1985 season, 1986. And they have been to the Super Bowl one time since then. That was the 2006 season. In 2007, they had Rex Grossman, the quarterback. Bears fan, you already know. I don't need to go any further as to what happened with that team. And they may have issues similarly with their current quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky, because there have been rumors of other quarterbacks being under center coming out of either their camp or throughout the NFL. Then you have the New York Jets, who, after their miraculous Super Bowl III victory now 51 years ago, they have not sniffed the Super Bowl since. In fact, the closest they have been since then was an AFC Championship appearance in 1983, an AFC Championship appearance in 2011, and one in 2012. And of course, they faltered all 3 times. Even though they had a decent run in the second half of their season, no dice for them. The Cleveland Browns, now they haven't been to the Super Bowl, and the last time they won an NFL championship, it was the 1964 season, and we all know this because, well, it was hyped so much as to when the last time the city of Cleveland and the area of Northeastern Ohio last won anything in professional sports, because LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm sorry for breaking protocol there, won the NBA championship in 2016. And a lot of people romanticized the 1964 Browns for that reason. The Oakland and Los Angeles, now the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the last time they won a Super Bowl, it was 35 years ago. The Jack Squire interception from Joe Theismann basically sealed the deal. In that game, of course, that's also the game where Marcus Allen did a loop-de-loop and ran 82 yards for a touchdown. Since then, they went to the Super Bowl in 2003, and, well, the Bucs defense decided to score touchdown against them. It pays to let go of a coach that knows your team. Houston Texans. Now, they've been a franchise only 18 years. They haven't been to the Super Bowl. They haven't even gone to the AFC Championship game yet. So we don't even have to go there. They're knocking on the door. We will see if they get there. You have the Titans from Tennessee. They've gotten to the Super Bowl, 1999 season. So 20 years ago, they were 1 yard shy of sending possibly the first game in the Super Bowl in overtime. Didn't happen. Since then, they have only reached the AFC Championship game twice. The 2003 and this year. And of course, they bowed out both times. Once to the Raiders and once to the Chiefs. The Falcons, who hard-lucked, got to the Super Bowl, but couldn't seal the deal. Twice. The first time it was against the Broncos, closed out the 1998 season. So that was in 1999 when that Super Bowl happened. They didn't stand a chance. But of course, there was a Super Bowl that happened in 2017 to complete the 2016 season, and the Falcons were up 28-3. I will stop there. I don't want to sicken Falcons fan further. You have the Vikings, who they have not won the Super Bowl, but they have been 4 different times. And that was during the Fran Tarkenton era. They haven't been to the Super Bowl since then. And the Fran Tarkenton era I'm talking about, 1970s. So after the time that they got trounced by the Raiders 32-14, the Super Bowl that was in 1977, the Vikings haven't sniffed it since in 1977 to now. That's 43 years. The Vikings haven't even sniffed the Super Bowl. Now, they've gotten to the NFC Championship game a couple times. Just hadn't happened. Buffalo Bills, the 4 falls in the early 90s that produced Super Bowl trips, but produced goose eggs for Super Bowl championships. They look like they're on the rise now because that they didn't resemble anything of success after that Jim Kelly-led team and Marv Levy-led team, but now they have something to build on. And having Brandon Beane, the general manager, put forth a really good team with Sean McDermott showing that he's a really good head coach and a quarterback in Josh Allen, they can build on some success. And then the aforementioned 49ers, who they haven't won Super Bowl now in 25 years. But they look like they might be the next to snap their break. I'm not saying that they will be, but they look like they look to me to be the team that is best suited to end their Super Bowl drought. Now, for the teams that have never been to the Super Bowl, the closest that would come to it, to me, would be the Texans. But I'm not saying they're going to make it there, but that's the team that, to me, is the closest that would get there. And the teams that have been but not won, it might be between the Titans and the Vikings. It just might be. No matter what, it's going to be exciting to see how these teams get together and how they will coalesce and try to make sense of how they can make their season better and brighter and stronger by either extending their drought or ending it. But we now know the Chiefs no longer have a 50-year drought between Super Bowls, because now the other 31 teams are coming after their necks. So to the team that resides in Kansas City, Missouri, we shall see if you can maintain the crown and defend it successfully. But beware, more than half of the teams that are on that list want to be in your shoes come next February. And speaking of February's past, we're going to rewind to a big-time event that took place on this date a few years ago. Be right back. If you're listening to me on the RTF Sports Network, coming after this program, it is Snowman in the Morning. Follow my man as you settle into work and listen to how Brian Snow gets down on all things sports, whether it is basketball, baseball, football. He might even bring a boxing or hockey take or a tennis take to you. You never know. But what you do know is you're going to get the hard-hitting, down to the bare knuckles truth that only the Snowman can provide. That's Snowman in the Morning, every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern to noon. That's on the RTS Sports Network. But we're not done here, because tomorrow we're going to actually have the return of the Brown Sexual Confessions, and we're going to touch on some other things as well. But we're not done with this particular program, and if you downloaded this program, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to download this show. Now, we just came off of a special boxing event that it was exciting. Would I call it the greatest or one of the greatest heavyweight championship bouts I've ever seen? No. But it did capture my interest, and it was exciting enough. But it was another fight that went almost as long as the Fury-Wilder 2 fight did. But we're not talking about Wilder Fury 2. No. I'm talking about the greatest of all time when he started to establish himself as such. And that's what we're going to talk about in Rewind. February 25th, 1964. Now, you got to understand, VIP, my father is a huge sports fan in general, but he was a huge boxing fan in particular. And he made me a boxing historian, especially with the heavyweight ranks, because that was by far his favorite division. Now, I got a chance to love the middleweight division, and I'll talk about that love a little later. But he made me love the heavyweight division because he was a huge Ali fan. And so he would tell many stories. He told me what he thought about the Thrilla in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle and his thoughts on Frazier, and his thoughts on Patterson, his thoughts on Norton, and his thoughts on Foreman. And there was a fight that took place in Houston actually 2 years later where Ali beat this boxer to a pulp. And after he did so, he would stand back and just scream, "What's my name?" And my father got much joy out of telling me that story. But he also got a lot of joy telling me this one. So the scene, as I said, February 25th, 1964, that is when it happened. Where it happened was in Miami Beach. And you had this intimidating, dominant heavyweight champion of the world, Sonny Liston. And people thought that there was going to be no way anybody was going to step in the ring and usurp him. Similar to the fight that we talked about February 11th, 1990, between Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas. It was similar, for the exception of we had an idea as to Muhammad Ali, or I should say, Cassius Clay at the time. It was not known until after the fight, actually during the fight, that there was this, well, as they called it then, black Muslim presence. But basically that's the Nation of Islam, really. And after the fight, it was announced that Cassius Clay would no longer be called that. He would be called Muhammad Ali. But there was this, I guess you could say, happiness with Clay because, well, why wouldn't it be? The dude had a loud mouth. He had a gregarious personality. He talked a whole ton of trash. I mean, he was perfect for Madison Avenue, and he was perfect for the sports fan because you wanted to root for him if you liked him, and if you were against him, you wanted someone to shut that mouth up. He didn't get to the point where people wanted to have his mouth be shut up yet. That would happen after this fight. But before this fight and during it, the darling was Clay, and everybody thought he did not stand a chance of defeating Liston. So there were sports writers who didn't even give Clay a chance. So that explains what, if you followed along, that explained how he was at the end of this fight. So the bell rings. And we see Liston not knowing what to do against this guy who he was 6'2" and 210 pounds, but he moved like a middleweight. It was almost as if he studied Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, he moved gracefully in the ring. This is a heavyweight, moving like a middleweight, if not moving like a junior middleweight. Light on his feet, light on his toes, making the target hard to hit, and then angling himself to where he can get a good shot in every now and then. And he'll throw his combinations, get on his bicycle. And that's how he was in the first and the second and third rounds. And in the fourth round, he did slow down a little bit. And he was starting to assert himself. Then all of a sudden, after a clinch, Ali didn't seem to be himself. And then he got into the corner after the fourth round was over. And he told his quarterman and his trainer, Angelo Dundee, the legendary Hall of Famer Angelo Dundee, that there was some filament that was in his eyes and that he was blinded. So legend has it that Clay said, "Look, just cut the boxes off. I can't see." And Dundee tried to wash the stuff out. Didn't quite work. And they said that he shoved Clay off the stool, and off to the fifth round they went. And Clay did his best to dance around any type of hard shot that he could take. Now, Liston won the round, but he did not dominate in the way that he should have, considering that Clay was considered blind. So, after the fifth round was over, they got to their corners. Clay felt a little better. Dundee rinsed out the ice again. And then in the sixth round, Ali went to doing the same thing he did earlier in the fight and reasserted his dominance. Then they went back to the corners. And Ali got up. The bell rung. Round 7. Listen, didn't get up. Some time went forth. Didn't get up. The towel was thrown in. And then we see Ali, then Cassius Clay, charge to the sports writer's row with wide mouth and glove pointing in a direction saying, I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you. Even when he was not in the sport, he was the biggest name in boxing. But this was what made him the man that we all had to watch. Because this fight here was when Cassius Clay, now Muhammad Ali, the late Muhammad Ali, the Hall of Famer Muhammad Ali, stamped his arrival onto the world. And boxing will never be the same thanks to him. If you happen to like this episode or any episode you have heard thus far, open.acast.com or shows.acast.com/on-the-daily. That is where I will be found. And also, you can catch me on all major podcast directories, including and especially Apple Podcasts. I'm waiting for you. Come on down. And it doesn't matter where you listen to me, how you listen to me, or when you do, whether it's on radio or downloaded. I just want you to do these 3 simple things. Love yourself with your whole heart. Tell a friend to tell a friend about this particular program and enjoy the content. For the Intelligent Sportsman, I am Cole Johnson, and this is yet another installment of Cole Sports for your audio pleasure and on the daily.
You've been listening to Cole Sports with Cole Johnson.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the Bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Good morning. Welcome to the Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning, coming to you live from North Carolina. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Dr. K is my wonderful executive producer, and we are heard on the RTF Sports Network, rtfsportsnetwork.com, as well as Full Press Coverage, fullpresscoverage.com. Arena Sports Net, a part of the iMedia One Radio Network, arenasportsnet.com. The iMedia One Radio Network is a-coming, so stay tuned for that. And wherever you can download this show, be it Apple, be it Google, the podcast form thereof, be it Apple, be it Google, be it wherever you get your favorite podcast, the Snowman in the Morning podcast drops 1 hour after each live episode, an hour of the best of this morning. I got Cole Johnson on the way to talk all things wrong with the NBA. Errol will join to talk the state of New York baseball, as well as why the Astros cheating scandal is bad. But then Cole Johnson counters on why the Astros cheating scandal is good. Allow the man in charge of Cole Sports to explain.
We've been hearing a lot of ruckus in relation to the Astros science-stealing technology scandal and scam and scheme and plot. And we have heard a lot of vitriol in terms of the displeasure that has been aimed toward the Astros. We've heard from the Angels' Mike Trout. We've heard from many different pitchers from the Yankees. We've now heard from the Dodgers' Cody Bellinger. And we will hear from number 23 of the Lakers a little later on this subject as well. We've also heard some weak apologies spearheaded by the owner of the Astros, Jim Crane. And we have heard the reason why Major League Baseball is not stripping the Astros of the 2017 World Series championship, in the commissioner, Rob Manfred, saying that basically it would be taking away, quote, a piece of tin, close quote. Now, that's not something you should say to the prize that your sport goes after. After all, I mean, after every end of October or early November, all 30 teams wants to be the one that hoists that piece of tin in the sky to say that they're the best team in the world of baseball. Right now, that trophy resides in Washington, D.C. But all of these things has coalesced, in my opinion, to the perfect storm for Major League Baseball. And why do I say that? Am I saying that the sign stealing scandal, and try saying that fast 4 times, of the Astros is a good thing? No. No, the sign stealing scandal is not a good thing for any sport, any team, anytime, anywhere. I'm not saying that is the good part. No. The good part is the attention that the sport is getting. Think about this. Think long and hard about this. When have you heard many people talk about Major League Baseball in any way, shape, form, or fashion so much at this time of the year? You hear that silence? Yeah, that silence means it hasn't happened for a long time. Let's try 10 years ago. Let's try 20. You may have me there. You may have me there. After all, that was around the time you had Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa try to best who was going to usurp Roger Maris in the singular season home run record. So you had that race in 98, and then you, of course, had that race in 99 as well. That was similar. And so you had the interest in baseball that you hadn't had at that time since before the strike. And even before then, I'd say probably the 80s. So I would say, the first time in roughly 15 to 20 years, you had eyes on the sport in ways you didn't have it before. Well, one steroid or / asterisk era scandal, and it pretty much deflated the whole sport. It basically was in the doldrums. It settled into being the number 3 sport in the United States, far behind the NFL, far behind the NBA. Major League Baseball was the sport that people barely talked about until July. And then you talked about it a little more in September. But by then, you're thinking more about the NFL beginning. Well, the Astros have been on the lips of everybody. And I do mean everybody. Within the sport, in other sports, and outside of sports, all this month. And it is a good thing because now there is attention on the whole sport. Follow me here. Think about all of the scandals that have happened, and baseball is riddled with them. Riddled with them. You had the Black Sox scandal. The turn of the 1920s, where you had baseball players who were suspended. Well, of course the league was hurt for a little while, but then you had the uprising, and I do mean uprising, of one Babe Ruth, a guy who could just hit moonbeams for homers, and then you were good to go there. Or how about even going a little further forward? How about the Pete Rose betting on baseball? That was in the late 80s. That was news almost every day in 1989 until the commissioner at the time, Bart Giamatti, decided to ban him for life. And then, of course, you have the steroids era that happened 15 to 20 years ago. In my opinion, those are worse than the Astro sign stealing scandal. And the reason why I say it's worse is because the damage that was inflicted on the sport was far more far-reaching than this one. Now, here's how it could be far-reaching. You saw the elaborate way all of this was set up by the Astros? There has been talk that guaranteed at least 9 other teams have done it, and we already know one of them. The Red Sox have been outwardly guilty of it. And for those who are saying, well, you got to punish the Astros harder. You got to strip them of their championship. The reason why they haven't done it is because you got to strip the Red Sox of theirs in 2018 as well, because they were proven to be guilty of the same thing. All right, so since I'm actually going there, let me address it this way. MLB fan, this is for you. You want to know why you all are griping about the punishment that the Astros received or the lack thereof? It's because it doesn't matter what punishment the Astros were going to receive. You're hungry and you're salivating for your pound of flesh. You can have Major League Baseball give the Astros the death penalty. You can have rotating suspensions with all the players, both former and current. You can actually even suspend Mike Fiers, the whistleblower. You can suspend him. Suspend every player that was on the 2017 team. And for those who retired, ban them from life. And then you can have them come back in 2021 and you can have them legally be beamed with hit-by pitches. Just be dotted with 75-mile-an-hour curveballs to 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. And it still would not be enough. You know why? Because you want more. That's just the sickening nature of the punitive feel that human beings have. You can have the worst punishment heaped upon somebody and you still want more because it still is not enough. Well, yes, I am an Astros fan. I make no bones about it. I love my team. I love the Astros. But am I proud of this? No, I'm not proud of it. But am I going to abandon this team? No. I've been rooting for this team 40 years. I'm not going to stop now because there's a scandal that's afoot. I mean, why don't you ask the Patriots? Why don't you ask Patriots fan? Well, you discovered that there was Spygate. Would you quit rooting for your team? They'd say, heck no, they wouldn't. And why should they? Because they were at the time rooting for the team that is the best in their game when Spygate happened. Right now, Astros fan, let's be completely forthright. The team that is presently constituted is the deepest in talent in Major League Baseball. Why would a diehard stop rooting for them? I wouldn't, and I'm not. But I'm also not going to sweep under the rug the fact that what they did is unconscionable. It's unconscionable. And it's inexcusable to boot. This is when Major League Baseball has to be on its P's and Q's. This is when Major League Baseball has to show us all that you are adults. This is when Major League Baseball has to show that this whole league is more than one team. Now, we can say, well, we have the hatred for the Yankees, but it's a sports hate. We have I guess you could say a running laughing affair with the Dodgers because they get close to the championship but they don't win it. We have a growing respect for the Cardinals. So we have a growing disdain for the Red Sox, although they still feel as though they're underdogs. They now are the perennial favorites. You have those things that happen, but you consider that to be normal. the villain, the black-hatted Astros, this is not the norm. This is an exception to the norm. And so now, MLB, you have all eyes on you. You don't have the same type of eyes that you normally have. The scrutiny is tighter. The anticipation is greater. The onus is for the product to stand out and stand up. Now, what are you going to do with this extra attention? So a team decided to skirt the rules. Okay. Show us all, and I'm addressing this to the players. Show us all why you all are the best at what you do in the world of baseball. Show us why this sport is the best it can be, and show us the best parts of this sport. Because quite frankly, if you want to just straight up go and dot and hurt physically Astros players with pitches that go errant in the night, that quite frankly is showing us all the worst in your sport. And it's something I expect. What I don't expect is something that I believe you should want and believe in, and that is the best in you. Show us why. Show us why baseball is the greatest game that you know it could be, and show us why this is the national pastime. You have the scandal. Now prove that Major League Baseball can be above the scandal.
Wow. Never thought of it that way. And me being a sports talk host, I wanted my pound of flesh also, but I'm glad I waited. I'll piggyback on this on Monday. I got to go to a break. I'll be back in a little bit. And thank you, Cole Johnson, for that. Back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Holy on smoke!
Where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
All right, folks. Man, I've been having some great guests on the program, and to kick off the week, I say unto y'all, all aboard! The E-Train is back. Errol Marks from the Worldwide Sports Radio Network now joins me. How are you, my friend?
I haven't heard from you in a while. How are you?
I'm doing great, brother. Had a lot of things go on since the summer. That's when I had him on last. One big thing, I got married. Second thing, we moved. And I've just been busy, man. I've been like you. I'm trying to be like you. I'm busy doing this stuff.
And that's great. I see what you're doing, and very, very soon we're going to have some good news for you, too, as well. So.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. All right, let's get into it, shall we? What the hell is going on with New York professional basketball, man? Let me just come right out and ask it, because the guests that I have on my programs, they love when I come with it, and they respond back, and I'm expecting nothing less from you. So let's bring it. Let's start in Brooklyn. What happened?
Well, you see what's going on with Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving is now hurt. He could be out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is practicing. You're seeing that a lot of people think he's 100% ready to go now, but the Nets are going to hold him out until next year.
Yeah.
I think right now with the Nets, the Nets don't have enough. They don't have enough on their bench. Even if Kyrie Irving was playing, they don't have depth, and that's the problem with the Brooklyn Nets right now. It's all depth. I think they have a lot of talented players. I think what we've seen over the last couple of years, the growth of some of these players, some of the players that nobody even wanted. The Nets picked guys up from the scrap heap, and you got to give a lot of credit to Marks.
Yes.
Because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's from the Spurs, he's from the Spurs organization.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to take players and build them up. And I love what the coach is doing right now with the Brooklyn Nets. I think he knows how to develop players. And I think that's great for the Nets as far as some of the players that they have right now and the growth with and I like what we're seeing with some of the young players that they have.
Yeah.
The problem is, like I said, the depth, and also the Nets have nothing to trade. They've got nothing.
Yeah,
and that's where the Nets are at right now. What are they going to do in the offseason next year? Yes, Kevin Durant's coming back next year. Mm-hmm. We all know he's coming back. Mm-hmm. And Kyrie Irving will be all ready to go. And we all know the situation with Kyrie Irving. Yeah. Kyrie Irving knew this was a lost year.
Yes, he did.
He knew this was a lost year. But the fact that right now, where you look at the Nets and where they're at right now, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm right now looking, because they moved from one place to another, and I think the Nets right now are at 7th seed. If the season were to end today, they're only a game ahead of Orlando,
right?
And they should have been light years better than Orlando this year.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
I don't care if Kyrie Irving's hurt half the season or he's played half the season. The fact is that this team is talented enough. They have a very well-rounded coach. They have a very well-rounded organization now run by Marks. This team should have been in the hunt for a big-time player at the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. They couldn't land anybody because they have no assets.
Right.
And that's where the Nets are at right now. I think they'll be a borderline playoff team before season's end. I think they'll squeak in as the 7th or 8th seed, and they'll probably be swept in the first round.
Yeah, and here's another question that you have to ask with the Brooklyn Nets. When the offseason gets here, what do they do with Spencer Dinwiddie? Seeing as that, you mentioned the biggest problem that the Nets have had. They have it now, and they've had it for a while, even with the all-star season of D'Angelo Russell, in their rearview mirror. They have had no depth, and this has been a seasons, plural, long problem for Brooklyn. Spencer Dinwiddie can be dangled as trade bait. They got a couple of other players, LeVert included, that can be dangled as trade bait. But how do the Nets solve the bench problem? How do they solve the depth problem? Because those are the two biggest things that are holding them back right now.
I think when you look at the Nets, I think the Nets have to look at the availability of some of these veteran players that could be available in the offseason, where you can bring them in for like $3 or $4 or $5 million. Maybe get a Carmelo Anthony in the offseason, who's going to be a free agent from Portland,
right.
who's helped Portland ever since he went to Portland. Mm-hmm. Players of that magnitude, where you can bring them in for about $4 or $5 million. You can get them off the bench. You can bring them off the bench where he's going to give you about 16, 17 points. They need players of that magnitude. Now, Spencer Dinwiddie, I think Dinwiddie will be traded in the offseason. I don't think he's going to mesh very well with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, knowing that these guys are going to be the 1 and 2 options of this team. And how about LeVert? The problem with LeVert, since he's come into the NBA, is not his talent. The problem with LeVert is the injuries. Yeah. The guy can't stay healthy. And I think where the Nets are at right now, and you look at the whole big picture of the Nets, they're going to need another 1 or 2 players to add on this bench that's going to give him enough points off the bench if Kevin Durant gets into foul trouble or he needs to be sit, or Kyrie Irving gets into foul trouble, or he's injured because the guy can't stay healthy. They need persistent offense where this team's going to play defense. We all know they're going to play team defense because the coach pushes that. But the problem with this team as a whole is they're not getting enough offense off the bench. They're right now, I think they're middle of the league, middle of the pack of the league right now, getting points off the bench.
Right.
You're not going to win championships like that with Kevin Durant, even with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at the Nets in a big picture, I think they're going to have to somehow be very smart in the offseason and try to bring in a guy like Carmelo Anthony, or maybe make a huge trade where you're going to bring in another team, where you're going to have a 3-team trade where you're going to bring in another superstar or a star player to play with these guys.
Who's that player? You mentioned Carmelo Anthony, who could fit on the bench for Brooklyn, but who are 2 or 3 players that could fill out this lineup or fill out the bench that would work in Brooklyn in that system?
There's a player right now in Detroit that's injured the whole season. He sat out for the rest of the season because of injury, and I think he would be a guy that Detroit would be willing to trade, even though before he got hurt, he was looking like he was having a great season. And that guy is Blake Griffin. I think Blake Griffin adds the size, the athletic ability with Kevin Durant. You give that perimeter type of game where you can get inside, you can get the ball inside to this kid. I think he's really gotten better on the foul line. I think Blake Griffin would fit perfectly with the Brooklyn Nets, especially with Kevin Durant coming back. You get that the inside prowess that they desperately need, that they haven't had all season.
Right.
And I don't want to hear about Jordan. Jordan has been terrible since he's come to this team.
Yep.
And as much as he's helped some of the big young players that they have, I still think they overpaid for Jordan, because Kevin Durant, the only way Kevin Durant was coming to the Brooklyn Nets is if they brought Jordan in, because Jordan is one of his best friends.
Right. Absolutely right. Talking with Aaron Marks of the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, the man in charge of Below the Mic that you can hear on Friday nights, and we're going to try to get that show also on my network, Arena Sportsnet, so everybody can really get a piece of that, because it's a fantastic show. I've had the pleasure of being on it, and y'all need to listen to it. Let's go to the other team in New York, and I'm going to try not to laugh as I bring up the problems that they've had basically since 2013, which I believe is the last time they made the playoffs. But where do you start to strip down and rebuild that team known as the New York Knicks? Where do you start?
Where do I start about the New York Knicks?
I said I'd try not to laugh, but the way you said that is the way every guest that I've had on my show for almost 2 years have begun to try to answer that question. Yeah, and you just answered it again. Where don't you start? I mean, what is the one brick that you have to lay down first to rebuild the New York Knicks?
Well, I think they got a player in R.J. Barrett. I think he's going to be a good player in this league. He needs to develop his free throws. It's been a problem for him since he came out of college in Duke. But the guy's got tremendous ability. He can get to the hole. He can get to the foul line at will. The guy could shoot. He's a good perimeter, 17, 16-foot jump shooter. Needs to work a little bit on a three-point shot in certain aspects of his game. But I think the kid could be a superstar in this league. He's young. He has all the intangibles to be that player that they can build around. The thing about the Knicks is they brought in a new president, which I like. And I like what they're doing, because Golden State did the same thing. They brought in an agent.
Yes.
Golden State built their team with this particular agent. There were plenty of teams so far that we've seen in the last couple of years bring in these agents, and they've worked out in the NBA. They haven't worked out in the MLB, but they have worked out in the NBA. So I think this was a good move by the New York Knicks. I think bringing in a guy that is very connected with guys like Karl Anthony Towns, LeBron James, all the big superstars. He's been the agent of all these big superstars. So I like what the Knicks did over there as far as bringing in a president of that magnitude. What I don't like with this team right now is I like what they did with Marcus Morris. They got a first-round draft pick, a late first-round draft pick, but they got a first-round draft pick. It was the Clippers' first-round draft pick, so you know it's going to be a late one.
Yeah.
And they're not getting Dallas's first-round draft pick this year.
Right.
So that hurts the Knicks. So that could have given them three first-round draft picks. So wherever they land at number 5, number 6, depending on where they land, they can move up and maybe get the player of their choosing. What scares me about the Knicks is there's a lot of players right now in the NBA that don't want to play over there.
Right.
I don't want to hear about James Dolan, because it has nothing to do with James Dolan.
Okay.
It really doesn't. And I know a lot of people will say that's bull and that's crap, but to me, it has nothing to do with ownership. The owner's going to open up his pockets and he's going to spend money. He's been doing it for years. So players are going to get paid. He's going to overpay players to come to the team, a.k.a. Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yes.
But I look at the Knicks right now, and the questions are they're going to have to be answered in the offseason. Can this can this president or can this organization bring in a superstar to play beside R.J. Barrett and also draft another good player like R.J. Barrett and maybe bring in that talent that they've been looking at, that guard presence that they've been looking at. Look at this. Look at what they have. They have Dennis Smith Jr., first top 10 draft pick, lottery pick. He really hasn't amounted to anything for the Knicks.
No.
They drafted Frank Ntilikina. He's gotten better over the last couple of years, but he's still not the player they thought he was going to be. They have no guard presence whatsoever, consistent guard presence on the perimeter, which has affected the Knicks for the last 10 years. The league has transitioned into a guard league.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
It's very guard. It's very guard heavy. You look at Houston. You look at Golden State's run. You look at the runs that even the Spurs in 2014, they were guard heavy with Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. It's a guard heavy league right now, and the Knicks have not responded.
And, we remember in the 90s, it was a big man's league. Everybody was talking about, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, David Robertson, Tim Hardaway, Kevin Garnett. I mean, all these big men in the league. The league has really, ever since Kobe Bryant was drafted, has really slowly but surely transitioned into a guard league.
Into a guard league, absolutely.
LeBron James, yes, he's a I guess you could say he's a power forward point guard. But he can play guard and he can play power forward.
And he can
play any position.
Yep.
Everything is transitioned. The league is transitioned. And you're looking at guys like Morant and you're looking at guys like Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson's a great player. He's going to be a superstar in this league.
Yes.
The problem with Zion is very simple. The league, it doesn't fit his borderline talent anymore. It doesn't. Now, do I think he's going to average his 23, 24 points a game and he's going to get you 2 or 3 blocks a game and he's going to get you 10 rebounds? Absolutely. The question is, how long is he going to be able to do that before he injures himself with all that weight on his knees? That's going to be the question.
Which brings a point that I've spoken about about Zion Williamson, and Gilbert Arenas put this bug in my ear after I listened to him a year and a half ago. I think Zion is playing out of position. He's a fantastic athlete. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted, folks. I have no hatred for Zion Williamson, and I know I'm old school, and I have no problem saying that, and I've said it many times on many shows. The problem I think that Zion Williamson is going to have, and you really hit the nail on the head, is going to be his weight. What's going to happen when he injures himself and he can't recover as quickly as some of these other guys can? The other problem with Zion Williamson, I was leading to this point, he's playing out of position. Instead of being in the post and being beaten up because the Pelicans have him at a 5, why doesn't he lose about 40 pounds, develop a jump shot, and become a shooting guard?
And that's a good question, but Zion Williamson, and I understand he's overweight, and it's very, very, very hard to cut down muscle.
Yeah.
It's very hard to cut down muscle. The guy is built like an ox. There's really no fat on that guy's body. He's built very, very well. He's got big legs. He's got a big upper body, strong torso. And the guy is a lot better shooter than I ever thought he was going to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
But my question here is, when you look at the New York Knicks, and I do believe Zion Williamson will leave the Pelicans. I think so too. And I think when his rookie contract is up in the next 3 or 4 years, I could see him looking at the New York Knicks as a stopping ground because RJ is his best friend.
Yep.
And to me, I think that's what the Knicks are gunning for. That's why I don't think the Knicks are going to spend a lot of money in the next 2 or 3 years for free agents
because they're waiting for Zion. They're waiting for Zion to quote unquote come home, because the entire state of New York was looking for Zion to be, drafted by the Knicks. They were looking for the Knicks to win that lottery. They came up with the 3rd pick. So here's another question. While we're talking about questions and how the Knicks can improve, Zion Williamson is going to be that centerpiece. My question is, my friend, will it take the full 4 years? Will the Pelicans put a package together, and will the Knicks have the assets, let's say, in 2 years to get him? Because I don't think the fans are going to take them suffering and playing as horrible as they have. Do they have a little bit of talent? Yes, but it's going to have to be built around R.J. Barrett. New York the Knicks are holding out for Zion Williamson. You can see it. You can absolutely see it. My question is, once again, will they put a package together in, say, maybe 2 years to get him from New Orleans?
Well, the Knicks have 7 first-round draft picks in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they're going to add on to that next year because they're going to have assets that they're going to be able to trade. They're not going to be any good next year as well.
Right.
Even if they get a top 3 pick this year, which quite possibly could happen.
Yeah.
I still think, even if they got like Ball, who I think is going to be a fabulous, and I'm not talking about Lonzo Ball, I'm talking about his brother LaMelo. I think he's going to be a fantastic NBA player.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes.
I could see the Knicks going for this kid and getting him, and I think he could be a very good asset for the New York Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think the Knicks will have enough to get a Zion Williamson? I do. I think they'll still have Kevin Knox on this roster. They're going to have to. They're definitely going to have to develop this kid.
Yeah.
They need to bring in a Tom Thibodeau. They need to bring in a Jeff Van Gundy. I believe that, and I wrote a story 3-4 months ago, and I said, absolutely, if Tom Thibodeau is available next year, you absolutely go to Tom Thibodeau.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, because
absolutely.
Tom Thibodeau, a lot of people seem to forget this with all the injuries that's happened to this young man that I'm going to mention, but Tom Thibodeau was huge in the development of one Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm. And also a guy playing in Miami. And everybody knows who I'm talking about. A guy that has never been soft-spoken of what he has said when he went to Minnesota, when he went to Philadelphia,
Jimmy
and
Butler.
now in Miami.
Jimmy
Mr.
Butler.
Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler will tell you straight out, and I met Jimmy Butler. I interviewed Jimmy Butler about a year ago, and I said, what was the change of growth when you came from Butler? Remember, he went to Butler.
Yes.
And not Butler. I'm sorry, not Butler.
Marquette.
He went to
Marquette.
I'm sorry. He went to Marquette, and he was a late first-round draft pick.
Yes.
If you remember.
Yes.
And Jimmy was a defensive player when he came into the league. He wasn't a shooter. He had no offensive game. He said that the real change of his development was Tom Thibodeau.
Yes.
Tom Thibodeau changed his game. Changed him to a two-way player, which he became one of the best two-way players in the NBA
and
for the last
is.
3 or 4 years.
Yes.
And he wanted to be a New York Knick in the offseason. The Knicks didn't want him because everything that happened in Minnesota, and they really thought that he was going to hurt the development of some of the young players in the New York Knicks organization. So I look at Tom Thibodeau. He would be the perfect match. Also, Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy.
Mm-hmm.
I think all 3 of those guys should be guys that the Knicks should look at in the offseason. I don't want to hear about this Miller guy who, yes, the Knicks have played better under him than Fizdale. But this guy is not the future coach of this team. And if they have any choice or any plans of winning a championship in the next 4 or 5 years, and I know it's crazy to say championship with the New York Knicks when they haven't won one in 50.
Right.
I think the Knicks have to absolutely look at the coaching position as the number 1 target in this year's offseason.
So should Thibodeau be the head coach, or should Mark Jackson be the head coach? You mentioned 3 very good names that could serve as a staff for the New York Knicks, and we'll close with this point. You mentioned 3 very, very good names, 2 of which have already been involved with the organization, Tom Thibodeau and Jeff Van Gundy. Mark Jackson also, he was a player. Who takes the lead seat, and who starts the development? Who are the 2 that start the development, and who takes the lead seat for this team?
And that's a good question. Now, a lot of people have said they really like Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson developed Steph Curry. He developed Klay Thompson. He developed Draymond Green. Steve Kerr took over a team that Mark Jackson practically built and developed the players.
Right.
Now, do I think Mark Jackson would have won those championships if he was there? Absolutely, I think he would have. I think he's a better coach. I think he knows the game better than Steve Kerr. But Mark Jackson has had his problems off the court,
right,
as a coach.
Right.
And to me, As much as you could say about Tom Thibodeau, you want a younger guy. Now, Jeff Van Gundy, he's been the coach for the New York Knicks.
Yes.
He's been successful as a coach with the New York Knicks. He's older. The guy's in his 60s. I just don't think bringing in a coach that's been there with the New York Knicks organization and a coach, to me, that has not coached in almost 7 or 8 years would be the proper fit for the New York Knicks.
Okay.
I think, my honest opinion, number 1, Tom Thibodeau, number 2, Mark Jackson, number 3, Jeff Van Gundy. Any one of those 3 guys will be very, very good and big, a huge talk in New York, in the newspapers, in magazines, and really throughout the tabloid that the Knicks fans will be happy with. The problem right now is the problem with this situation with the New York Knicks is, does Tom Thibodeau want the job? Does Jeff Van Gundy want the job? And does Mark Jackson want the job? Knowing right now where the Knicks are at. So that's going to be the question in the offseason that only the Knicks and those type of coaches could answer. Not me, not you, not anybody.
Right.
But right now where the Knicks are, they have talent. They have good young talent. Are they superstar talent? Only one I can honestly say could become a superstar. I think Kevin Knox could turn out to be a good two-way player, a good six man off the bench who can give you 15 and 7 or 15 and 8 and could be up for a 6-man award every single year. I think if they get the right guy in place, he could be developed. And I think he could be a fantastic defender because of his length and his ability. Also, you got guys like Mitchell Robinson, who really has not developed the way I thought he could have developed this year.
Right.
I think it has a lot to do with coaching. I think it has a lot to do because he was out of college the year that he should have played college ball. He dropped out because of the situation that his grades weren't good and the college didn't want him there. So he decided to sit out for a whole season. He didn't play overseas, and I think that affected his game for the last 2 years. But I think Mitchell Robinson could be a very talented big man in this league that can give you 15, 10, and 4. He can give you those things. And I think he could be the anchor of your defense. The problem, again, I'm gonna enhance here. Coaching in the NBA is very important. Look at the Nets. Look at the Nets. Look at and yes, talent wins championships. Absolutely. If you have a superstar, you can win. It doesn't matter how good your coach is. Look at the Houston Rockets. The Knicks had the same coach.
Yep.
For almost 5 years, and they couldn't win a lick with that coach. With Carmelo Anthony on the squad, and he was a superstar player.
Yeah.
So that tells you one thing. As much as a coach is a very important piece to the team and an organization, the same thing you can say about the players. And I look at the players right now as a whole, and it scares me because the only player I can honestly say that I will build my team around is R.J. Barrett.
Yes.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
That frankly got on my nerve. Now, I'm going to lay 2 disclaimers out there. One, I'm doing this mostly for fun, so I can get on some people's nerves and make them laugh at the same time. And 2, these are my opinions. Therefore, it makes them the right ones. No, I'm just kidding. But let me get into this. I saw a poll that said and asked, to be more precise, who do you think is going to be the most valuable player in the NBA this year? Is it going to be Giannis or is it going to be LeBron? I looked at that post again several times. Giannis or LeBron? I said, wait a minute. Wait. Let me take a look at that again. Giannis or LeBron? I kept hitting refresh, hoping that LeBron would escape and somebody else would be in his place. But I kept seeing LeBron, and then all of a sudden, my day came to a halt. What? LeBron in conversation for most valuable player?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And on top of that, I add this.
That is blasphemous. That is blasphemous. How dare you? How dare you say such a thing?
And I'm going to have that said to me because of what I'm about to say right now. LeBron does no longer deserves to be in any kind of MVP conversation. Allow me to explain. You know who's carrying the Los Angeles Lakers right now? It ain't LeBron, it's Anthony Davis. And unfortunately, the Lakers ain't going to go far in the playoffs because of a lack of a point guard. Hey, LeBron, why don't you put your general manager notes together and figure out, hey, I need a point guard. I need some shooting. I need some shooters around me. Haven't figured that out yet, have you? Nope. Are you going to figure it out? He might. But then a part of me loves to ask,
are you kidding me?
And then a part of me thinks, I can't just say LeBron doesn't deserve to be in MVP conversation because of what he's doing at age 35 is absolutely incredible. I'll give you that. Riddle me this, however. Is he? No, I better not ask that question. Anthony Davis is carrying the Lakers right now, not LeBron. LeBron's only getting to shine because he's LeBron, and that's wrong in and of itself. I know I'm going to get a lot of reasons and a lot of pushback for saying this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it, and it needs to be said. Why are y'all hyping a player for most valuable player who's not even carrying his team? Riddle me that. Why are you hyping a player for most valuable player just because he is who he is? Okay? I understand he's played 17 seasons. I understand he's had a lot of impact on a lot of players. I get that. I totally understand that. He has had an impact, good or bad. He has had an impact on a lot of players, okay? But why can't LeBron James make a free throw when it counts? Why does LeBron James get away with traveling? As evidence in a little video I saw against Utah. And I know these are very petty things, but you know what? I know what I was spoiled with when it came to the NBA. And sorry, LeBron ain't it. Kawhi maybe. Giannis Antetokounmpo maybe. Unfortunately, the players that should be voted for MVP won't have a chance to compete for him because they are, I don't know, they're kind of injured right now. That would be Kevin Durant, that would be Klay Thompson, and that would be Stephen Curry. I know LeBron is playing right now. And he is, listen to me carefully, he is playing his best basketball in 17 years. This is coming from a very staunch non-LeBron fan. Is he a fantastic athlete? Yes, he is. But I will hold true to the statement that I have said for the 17 years that he has been active. He's a fabulous athlete. He is at the top of his peak performance as an athlete. He's just not there as a basketball player. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear about what he's doing scoring-wise. I don't want to hear about his rebounds. I don't want to hear about how he has changed the culture of the Lakers. No, he hasn't. You know who did? You know who has changed the culture of the Lakers? Anthony Davis. His arrival gave LeBron a little bit of breathing room. But LeBron doesn't know how to use it. So he's trying to muscle in on Anthony Davis's shine when it should be all about Anthony Davis being in contention for most valuable player. And even that is a little shaky at best because this Laker team is one injury away, a very significant injury, be it to LeBron, be it to AD, or one of their supporting cast, if you want to call them a supporting cast. One injury away from being also-rans. How do you like those apples? One significant injury away from being near the middle part of the conference fighting for an 8 seed instead of a 1 seed. In the game against Denver, before we went to the All-Star break, LeBron didn't help them win that game. Anthony Davis did. You know, it's like Cole Johnson and I described and talked about off the air. He has a chance to win the game. Why is your shot selection so poor at year 17? You're supposed to get that out of your system by year 3 or 4. You're supposed to be the king, and he's not. I'm sorry. I have never bought into LeBron James being the end-all, be-all when it comes to basketball. I never have, and I never will. I will never say he's not a fantastic athlete. Let me repeat myself. I will never in life say he's not a fantastic athlete. LeBron has not changed the game in his tenure in the NBA. In some ways, Anthony Davis has. In some ways, Kawhi Leonard has. In many ways, Stephen Curry has. LeBron has not changed the game. He has not changed the culture of the NBA. He's a fantastic philanthropist off the court. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But answer me this question, will you please? What in God's name has he done in 17 years that made you keep your attention on him? A certain 4-letter network found a way to keep the attention on him, and that's just to keep giving him attention. That's to keep talking about him. I haven't talked about him on this program in a while, except when Cole Johnson shows up and a few of my other guests shows up, and we just have fun with it. But I gotta tell you, I am not impressed with LeBron James in year 17, just as I was not impressed with LeBron James in year 1. To a certain Bron-sexual who said LeBron is greater than Kobe, and who's greater than MJ, stop it. Just plain stop it. Why? Because he has more points than MJ? Okay, LeBron's played 17 years, MJ played 15. Because he has more free throws than MJ? Okay, once again, LeBron's played 17 years, MJ played 15. But let me bring it back to this point. You will not convince me of LeBron James's supposed greatness until LeBron does something MJ did twice. How about 3 consecutive titles? How about the fact that LeBron relaxes on defense, and he's always relaxed on defense from year 1 to year 17? How about the fact that LeBron does not motivate his team? Well, I can't say he motivates his team all the time. He does when he wants to motivate himself. But here is what turned me off about LBJ, and what will continue to turn me off about LBJ. I instead of we. When he won his first title, you heard him talking about a kid from Akron, Ohio, who went on to do this, this, and this. I remember one statement about the legendary Michael Jordan, where he said, and I quote, we are entitled to defend what we have until we lose it. Let me repeat that, especially for a few Bron-sexual fans I know, because now I'm getting heated. We are entitled to defend what we have until we lose it. And let me speak to a certain Bron-sexual fan that's in Florida who loves telling me, MJ didn't win anything without Scottie. You would be correct, because you want to put the right teammates around your star player, which is what the Chicago Bulls did, which is what the Los Angeles Lakers did, which is what the Boston Celtics did, which is what the San Antonio Spurs did, which is what the Golden State Warriors did, which is what the Miami Heat did not. Oops. To all these Bron-sexual fans who love celebrating partial greatness, just remember, all the other athletes that I've talked about on this show during its 6.5-year run kept one thing in common. They said we instead of I. Now, take that. That's Snowman's take. What's yours? I got more stuff for you in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
All right. I talked about this earlier in the show, and I got a little pushback from it, which tells me I'm saying a lot of correct things. Now I'm going to get some reinforcements. Cole Johnson has now joined the program. How are you, my friend?
I am doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. And I'm really doing great because you remember that conversation with that bronze sexual you pointed out in your program last Friday? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't shutting up.
Oh, how uninformed. I mean, how wonderful.
He ain't shutting up. Matter of fact, folks, y'all know I love presenting facts to go along with my opinion. And, okay, he said this message. I'm going to read a couple of messages that he communicated to me, if you want to call it communication. And then I'm going to have you respond to him with an email. One of the messages reads as follows, quote, I give credit where it's due. Real credit. LBJ greater than Kobe, greater than MJ. Close quote. He also said something to the tune of, where is it? Okay. He also says, quote, I just believe in facts and not opinions. Close quote. And I'll give you one more before I decide to throw my hands up, laughing my head off, yelling incoming when I know this email is coming. He also said, and you'll love this, quote, LeBron's the better all-around basketball player. Facts. Close quote. The floor and the keyboard is yours.
That last one is really intriguing. Okay. Oh my goodness. I did not want to break this out, but I'm going to have to. Let me get the hands ready because it's going to be typing mighty fast.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Email bronzesexuals. CC all other idiot fans. Subject of email. You got to be out your doggone mind. Body of email. Let me get this straight. LeBron is better than Kobe, is better than MJ. So you're telling me that a clone of the original article is better than the original article. I did catch that too. But you're saying that the clone and the original article are not quite as good as King James. Okay, all right. If we're talking about press, maybe. If we're talking about how he's being talking about LeBron, we're talking about him being as publicized off the court as he is on the court. Although Jordan could rival that, I probably would give it to LeBron. But if we're talking about facts, here's one fact for you. There was one player that won Defensive Player of the Year and another who didn't. Can you, Bronzesexual, guess which one won and which one didn't? I'll give you a clue. Your boy didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. Hasn't yet. And now in the twilight of his career, he won't ever win it. Yeah. Strike number one. There is two players who has more rings than the other, the one that you say is better than the both of them. Can you, Bronsexual, guess which one has less rings than the other two? It certainly is not Kobe, and it surely is not MJ. And even if your boy wins this year, he still will be less than Kobe and Jordan in ring count. Strike number two. Strike number three. The two players you say that LeBron James is better than, they have been to a combined 13 finals. You want to know how many finals they have lost combined? 2. That would be 1/3 the count of your boy, who has lost 6. So how can two guys who are a combined 11 of 13 in the biggest series of the year in their careers be worse than a guy who is 3 up and 6 down? Perspective, son. Perspective. You can't be serious. You can't compare just in those stats alone. And I might add, those, my friend, are facts. Now, taking the stats off the table, how can you compare one guy who is more Magic Johnson than he is any of the other two that people endlessly compare, just like you, Mr. Bronsexual, have compared? Because there is no Kobe in LeBron's game, and there's definitely no Jordan in his game either. You can miss me with that he wears the same number crap too, because that doesn't matter. LeBron's game is not like those other two. In fact, one guy who I think would know Jordan's game better than just about anybody, you may know him. He wore the number 30 basketball court.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that. Greatest one-on-one open floor wing basketball defender I've ever witnessed. He even said that you can't compare LeBron's game to Jordan's game because it was totally different. And he's exactly right. It is different.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that you all have this incessant need to compare this guy who has no resemblance of his game whatsoever to be like the great Kobe Bryant and the great Michael Jordan, both guys who are legends? And we can definitely say they both are. And we definitely can say one is a Hall of Famer and one will be one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean will be one, I mean in, 3-4 months? So
yep.
It's lofty that you try to compare this guy to those two. And then, yeah, you can throw any and all those stats. He scored more points than Jordan in a career. Wonderful. He has scored more points than Kobe. Wonderful. He may even score more points than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Wonderful. That's great. And I even encountered another Bronsexual who incorrectly said once LeBron passes Kareem, LeBron will be the greatest scorer of all time.
Whoa. Time out. Halt. He says, hold the phone.
Yes.
Stop. Penalty flag on the field.
Yes.
Wait.
Sir.
Yes, sir. I must invoke Al Michaels.
He did what?
He said what?
So LeBron passed Kareem and he becomes the scorer ever. What would you say then? And I had to promptly correct him, just like right now I'm promptly correcting you, Bronsexual. Kareem, as great as he is, and if anyone were to debate me as to anybody else other than Jordan could be the greatest player of all time, number 33 for the Lakers and 33 for the Bucks would be the guy.
Captain Skyhook.
And I would not pitch a fit whatsoever.
Captain Skyhook.
However, I love Kareem, but even he would tell you he's not the greatest scorer of all time. He's the most prolific scorer of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But the greatest? No. That would fall under two people's hands. One would be Jordan, the one you endlessly say that LeBron is better than. And the other would be Will Chamberlain. And you know why those two? Because those two are the only ones in NBA history, we're talking 73 years, Bronxexual, that in a career averaged over 30 points a game. Those are great scorers. Not LeBron. Impressive? Yeah. But averaging 26 to 27 points a game doesn't make you the greatest scorer of all time. No. So, to review, your man has lost 4 more finals combined than the 2 other guys that you have compared him against. Your guy has only won 3, and if I were to even say that he would win a championship this year, it would be 4. And that still would be short of the other 2 men individually. And you have your facts inverted. Flip that chart, son. MJ is greater than Kobe, is greater than LeBron. How about that, sir? For facts. Cole Johnson, Cole Sports with a Z, along with Snowman in the Morning and SnowmanDigitalMedia.com.
And I add this to the Bronxexual who continues to send me that message. Courtesy of one Stephen A., he said it best, and it sounds like this.
The truth shall make you free.
Oh, my. Oh, good Lord.
I mean, I'm so glad you told me that term, because these Bronxexuals just, A, don't get it, and B, they don't give up.
No, they're relentless. They're relentless.
They don't,
and
they don't give up. It just makes me laugh. It made me laugh when I saw the message and I knew I was going to bring you on the program. I said, you know what? I have to. I know I gave my take, but I knew it wasn't going to be enough. Okay, I had to have you for this. And while we're on the subject of the NBA, of the NBA, and we're going to work a little Ice Cube into this later on in this conversation. While we're on the subject of the NBA, and I've had people at work this morning, and we're a week beyond the All-Star game, or the All-Star Blues that took place in Chicago, which, while I'm playing sounds, which made me say,
that's all I can stand. I can't stand no more.
And I couldn't stand to watch that debacle. In my hometown, why was the fourth quarter 15 full game minutes? Why couldn't they just clip it at 12 minutes like every other quarter? Someone pointed out to me, well, you didn't pay attention because they kept the running score on the top of the screen. They usually have it in the main score bug, you idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You and I both have talked about, and I love the artist Common. I love him to pieces. Okay, he's from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he introduced the players, but the stage was not necessary.
You talk as though you are, what's the word? Extremely perturbed and aggravated that the NBA has taken this turn toward more of an entertainment product for All-Star Weekend.
The stage was not necessary.
Well, I mean, there's many things that were not necessary, and I mean, look.
If I can work Stephen A. into the conversation again, since 2005, there have been some elements added to not just the All-Star game, but the NBA that had me go,
No!
And I look again and I go,
No, 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 no!
And after last Sunday, I repeated,
No, 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 no!
And they want to attribute this to the growth of the NBA. They want to attribute this to the growth of what?
Well, I mean, anything to draw eyeballs to the product. I mean, isn't that what they're supposed to do?
To say I'm perturbed about the way the NBA has gone would be a horrible understatement.
I get that they sniff that they have the opportunity to become the number one sports league in North America. I get that.
Absolutely.
I fully get that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying they're trying to do a couple of things that the NFL did in Raw for them to become the sports league that people focus on.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's just, good Lord, the misses. Like, all right, look, I know you love him. I love him too. Damian Lillard,
yes.
My man is awesome.
Love Damian.
He is awesome.
Yes.
But why would you have him perform if you have not really looked at his stage presence? So you have this elaborate stage, you have him on the stage, and he performs like an amateur hip hop artist.
Yep.
And he has skills as a rapper, but his stage presence was not all that great. No. And that's not an insult toward him. That's just facts.
It's no insult whatsoever. While I'm working sounds into this, and I haven't played with my new sound base for a while, but Damian Lillard is a basketball player. I understand.
Yeah, really good.
And a damn good one. I understand they want to work him into the entertainment side, but when I saw that thing that you want to call a performance, my next 3 words were as follows.
Oh, hell no!
And that describes it. That describes to me the huge miss this whole weekend is. And I'm
big
thinking,
old miss.
I mean, and they tried to do so many different things. Like, since we're mentioning Lillard, want to take advantage of Lillard and the fact that you have him and Stephon Curry, who now making an art form to shoot 35 to 40-foot 3-pointers.
Yep.
And now in the 3-point competition, they have 2 two spots where you can shoot. I think it's like at least a 35-foot 3-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that all of these inventions that they're doing, and even in that competition, it just simply, it was okay, but it was not necessary. It was like, oh, okay, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool, but it's like in the way. So, and that's sort of the feeling I have. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but it's in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Slammed on competition. I got so many gripes about that competition. One, why is it that you all fail to get starters to do that competition?
Yes.
2, what did you all do to chase away the legends who used to vote on these dunks? Because remember, you used to have Dominique and Dr. J vote on these dunks. Now you have, and look, I look, Scottie Pippen is legit.
Yes,
but you have Chadwick Boseman. You have Black Panther voting on this.
I have the perfect sound. I have the perfect sound for that. You ready? I've been wanting to debut this for a while. I have the perfect sound for that, and we were joking about this sound at work. But to Chadwick Boseman judging the slam dunk contest, my only response is this.
Bruh.
And then you have the moment of the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You can rave about the game all you want the next night. You had the moment of the weekend. You had an NBA player scale over a 7'5" guy.
Yes.
And you could have sent the whole crowd home happy. You could have said, you could have had everybody say, you know what? There was an NBA player who won a slam dunk competition. He jumped over a guy over 7 foot to win it.
Yep.
That just writes itself. What do? You vote that dunk 1 point less.
1 point short.
Than 1 point short of a dunk that we've seen often. A guy who tried to run and do a free throw line to hold dunk.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I said this on this program before, I'll say it again. The dunk was okay. I wasn't bad. Okay, it was good. It wasn't great. And if you're going to compare it to the two best who did it, which would be Jordan and Julius Erving,
yes,
it just didn't rate. So, I huge. The biggest miss of the weekend was that.
For the dunks that came from the free throw line last Saturday.
Yeah.
And by the way, my question is,
did you not get the memo?
Julius Erving did it before, Michael Jordan did it after, and they both perfected it.
Yep. Both did. Yes, sir.
They both perfected it. In fact, I've said on this program many times over, as big of a Michael Jordan fan as I am, the first favorite player that did it for me was Dr. J, was Julius Erving.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, in my fandom, the only one I would put over Michael Jordan, because Julius Erving got me hooked on NBA basketball first. Then, of course, I saw Magic Johnson. Then I saw Captain Skyhook. Then I saw.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna really. I've told you many times before, and Dr. K is gonna have to forgive me, and I know she's gonna give me the finger point here in a moment. As she turns the dials for this program. We come home every morning. She just has this. She just looks at me while we're coming home, and she just goes, "What are you gonna do this time?" Okay, I'm gonna apologize to my beautiful Dr. K in advance by saying, yes, da, 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 da. And she loves giving me that sound too. In fact, she just did it in my ear. She just did it in my ear. She went, dun, 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 dun. By saying, I love pissing people off. When I do this program, and can't repeat what she just said, and she's in the booth laughing. She's cracking up laughing. I can't repeat what she said. But I love pissing people off. You want to know the most underrated? You're going to love this.
Yes. Why do you love pissing people off?
Because I have said this gentleman's name as an underrated forward who was a Hall of Famer. And I said he's 100,000 times better than LBJ. You know where I'm going. That name is James Worthy.
Big game James.
Absolutely.
The guy's so underrated that the presence of two then future legends, they're legends now, of course.
Yep.
But then future legends, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson, outshone Worthy in terms of coverage.
Oh yeah.
Yet, in Worthy's prime, who was the leading scorer of that team?
James Worthy.
So,
and by the way,
tell you the greatness of that guy.
And by the way, Bron Sexual, you want to point to the fact that LeBron sealed a Game 7 with a triple-double? How about this fact? June 16th, 1988, James Worthy did it first.
Yeah, he did.
James Worthy was the first to do it. James Worthy, if I had to put two favorite forwards before Scottie Pippen, James Worthy is one, Julius Erving's the other. Then Scottie Pippen showed up in 1988.
And you get zero arguments out of me. Because those are, you just named my three favorite small forwards right there.
Scottie Pippen, James Worthy, and Julius Erving.
Those are my favorite small forwards of all time. You just named them.
Yep. No argument here. No argument here. I loved watching Julius. Oh, by the way, Bron Sexual, while we're taking shots here and going back to my statement that I love making people angry, Julius Erving had something in his latter years that LeBron hasn't had in any of his years. A jump shot.
No, wait a minute. Now he exhibited a jump shot. I mean, there was a game. What was it, last week? Yeah, no. Yeah, last week before the All-Star break, they were in Denver. The game was tight. I think 114. No, 111. I'm sorry, 111 apiece. And so, LeBron is feeling his Jordan. He's at midcourt. He directs traffic. He wants a pick.
Of course.
So he can get a switch on the guy that was on him. So he gets the pick. The defender switch off. So he gets what he says is a favorable matchup for him. He dribbles about two steps in. He does a fadeaway. I have no idea, but he shoots an 18-foot fadeaway. Clank off the rim. Buzzer sounds. We go in overtime. Oh, yeah, you're right. He does have a jump shot. Yeah, I just don't get why he, with the framing he has and the skills he has too, why is it that he has not worked so hard on that? He has to have had the opportunity to build one shot to where it didn't involve him having to penetrate in the lane, because he had to save himself of that, because he couldn't do that. And he still is streaky. 35 and he's still streaky with his jump shot.
17 years.
It's either extremely wet or it's a desert. I don't get it.
17 years. 17 seasons, folks. And no damn jump shot. I mean, his jump shot is so bad. You want a legendary shooter? I'm going to put a legendary shooter and LeBron James in the same sentence, but not for the reason that you folks think. His jump shot at times can be so dry, so pixelated, and so off course. Not even the legendary Reggie Miller would be proud. Because at least Reggie Miller can hit a jump shot. At least Reggie Miller can catch fire. At least Reggie Miller, I don't know, actually knows how to put a jump shot together.
Reggie Miller on his worst day is 2 times the jump shot artist that LeBron James is. I mean,
Man,
please.
Reggie Miller on his worst day, and of course, my Dr. K has a big old grin on her face. Reggie Miller on his worst day, which would involve an illness and a stomach ache and a headache, can drop 35 with his eyes closed faster than LeBron can.
Look, I get why people want to say that LeBron is great because he has these different skills. I get it.
Yes,
I get
absolutely. Absolutely understood that. I never said that he isn't a fantastic athlete. I will never say anything to the contrary of that. I will never say he's not a great philanthropist off the floor.
He's that too.
What I have said for the almost 7 years I've been on air doing this show, I judge him for what he does on the floor. And I compare that to what I've been spoiled by for some 25 years. And folks, he ain't it.
No. And I, this is what gets my goat. This is what frustrates me more than anything. They tout the fact that he has gone to 8 straight finals.
Mm-hmm.
It almost invites another Stephen A. Smith soundbite when he says, "What do you want to give him, a cookie?" I mean, 8 straight finals. Fine, good. And they throw this in your face as like it's a badge of honor. Jordan didn't do that.
Jordan didn't have to. Jordan didn't want to just go to the final of the World Championship Series. He wanted to win.
And not only did he want to win, that's what he ultimately wanted to do. Yeah, not only did he want to win, he also wanted to let everybody know he was the best player on the court while winning it.
Yeah.
So
he wanted to let people know I was the best player on the planet. And he did.
And he didn't have to say it, bronzexual.
Exactly.
See, all of this is what really frustrates me. It's like, okay, well, LeBron is great because he went to 8 straight finals. That's something LeBron never did. That's something only the great Celtics of the late 50s to mid 60s did. Okay, fine. I'll give you an applause for that.
Yes.
Wonderful. But you know the one thing that those late 50s to mid 60s Celtics did in those 8 finals? They won all of them.
They won. They won.
LeBron was 3-5. So LeBron in that 8-year stretch was 3-5. So I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Nor do I.
And that's supposed to be the stamp of greatness, that we see him every June. Okay, cool. Do we see him raise the Larry O'Brien Trophy every June? No.
Oh, no.
And then of course I can add this. Now now LeBron has more MVPs than Kobe did. Kobe only won it once, and we all know why he only won it one time.
Yep.
LeBron won it 4 times. Jordan has won it 5. So
Abdul-Jabbar's won it 6 times.
And Abdul-Jabbar won it 6. He didn't win it as many times as Bill Russell because he too won it 5 times.
Yep.
So you can't give me that either.
Nope.
So
nope.
It's just
It's
just lunacy, man. It's absolute lunacy.
The legendary Irvin Magic Johnson said it best. Michael's the greatest player. Russell's the greatest winner. No argument here. No
argument here either.
No argument here. And while we're talking about how the NBA has whiffed on quite a few things, And I know I'm going to get on some people's nerves with this question. Well, before we
please do
get that, folks, I've said LeBron's never had a jump shot. Someone challenged me some time back that Julius Erving never had a jump shot. Courtesy of CBS. I give you this.
With 10, with Magic guarding him. Irving outside, hits a big one. A big basket, and a 111.
You know, there is this wonderful invention that we didn't have when we were growing up, but these youngins have it now. It starts with a Y, ends with an E. Oh yeah, YouTube.
Yes,
which is part of the Google machine. You can actually go there, type up Julius Erving or Dr. J, and you will see the full range of game he had.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Miss me with that. Do your research before you just pop off at the mouth.
Miss me with that. I've told people you got to do your research, and people just don't. They don't. Like he didn't have a jump shot. Listen again to the sound of the net.
Julius with 10, with Magic guarding him. Irving outside, hits a big one. A big basket, and a 111-108 Philadelphia lead.
Oh, by the way, Bronzexual, that occurred in the Forum. That occurred on the road. The date was May 31st, 1983. And oh, by the way, I didn't say the best part. I didn't say, yeah.
That sealed the deal.
Yep, yeah. You beat me to it. I didn't mention the best part. That sealed a world championship. And it wasn't a Game 7 either.
Nope, Game 4.
It was Game 4.
Game 4 against the Showtime Lakers. Now, you know that's impressive if a team can say they swept a Showtime Lakers team.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That is. Boston's had the most experience against the Lakers from the grinded-out 60s to the Showtime 80s. Mm-hmm. But Julius Erving's jump shot sealed a world championship on the Lakers floor in the Forum. Now, to the same Bronzexuals, and I know you run into a few, that said Michael Jordan is less than LeBron. The same Bronzexual you've addressed and I've addressed, and I know he won't listen, who said LeBron's greater than Kobe is greater than MJ. Number one, miss me with that. Kobe's got more titles. Number two, 1998, right. Folks. In Salt Lake. In Salt Lake. You want a jump shot to seal a title? I know LeBron did one in 2013, but you know who was doing it well before? I wonder I wonder who this fella is.
Yeah, he wore red that day.
For the Bulls.
Yeah, his head was
10
bald.
seconds.
There you go.
Yeah, he got a steal too before that shot.
Oh,
yeah.
He did. He chopped.
All right, it's win or lose. Game 6 for the Bulls. 10 seconds.
Yeah, y'all know what happened. Y'all know what happened. The pose. The stick. NBA World Champion.
I just saw that too. Mm-hmm.
And I think I have it. Yeah. Two greats when I grew up watching and listening to basketball. Michael Jordan playing, Jim Durham announcing. Listen carefully.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's win or lose. Game 6 for the Bulls. 10 seconds. And with it, of course, the championship. Jordan, 20-footer, head of the key. Good! Chicago by 1, and the Utah Jazz take time.
Yeah, take that.
So I got to hear Jim Durham's call on that because I've heard the Bob Costas call almost all the time with that one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something I got to hear.
This was Jim Durham for ESPN Radio. Now, speaking of gigantic whiffs that the NBA has had over the years, I've never been afraid to say it on this program. You haven't been afraid to say it on this program with me.
Mm-hmm.
I must ask this question again, and I know all the factors involved, and I know all the bureaucratic blankety blank you got to be shaving me kind of stuff that went on. But can we please bring back the Seattle Supersonics? Please.
You know, I never got why David Stern didn't fight so hard in keeping that team there.
He was in bed with Clay. He was in bed of business with Clay Bennett.
I mean, if he was the self-professed fan before commissioner, as he has said that he was,
which he wasn't,
you know, then he would have done more to protect that team moving.
He'd done a lot more.
Fact that he didn't, and the fact he didn't was extremely alarming to me.
He was making money hand over fist. He could have easily dipped into his pocket and said, "Hey, Seattle, here you go."
That team does not belong in Oklahoma City, and I'm not trying to crap on Oklahoma City. The fan base is awesome.
The fan base, yes. The fan base is awesome. The fan base is awesome.
Yeah. But that team does not belong
in Oklahoma City.
It does not belong wearing thunder blue, navy blue, yellow, and orange red. It doesn't belong wearing that. It should be white, green, and yellow.
In Seattle.
And they should be playing in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle-Tacoma area. That's where that team belongs. It's belonged there since 1968. It belongs there now. And the fact that it is not there is a crime.
It's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty that Seattle does not have an NBA team. I got nothing against Orlando coming in. They came in 1988. Same with Charlotte, and I'm not far from Charlotte. I understand that. But you always had the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah, you did. I mean, and this is what's so messed up now. I mean, you know, one of my favorite songs was Ice Cube. It was a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Third verse. He had a line where he said, "The Lakers beat the Supersonics." Now, of course, now you know that people know that Cube is a huge Lakers fan, so it didn't surprise me he said it in the lyric. But the team he chose
was Seattle.
You know he chose it out of respect. Yeah, you know he chose it out of respect.
Because that was a big rivalry. That was always a big rivalry.
It was a huge rivalry. Yeah, huge rivalry.
That was a big rivalry. It's just no, man. And what makes it even funnier and more humorous is, you know, the division where the Thunder is now, the Northwest Division, the division that has the Nuggets, the Jazz, and the Blazers in it. There is your karma, right there. There is your karma.
That tells you right there that team does not belong in Oklahoma City. I mean, come on.
There is your karma. That's about all I need to say. Speaking of karma, the NBA is about to get some, and it ain't going to be good because they stole an idea from said legendary artist and Ice Cube, who put the Big Three League together. They play to a score. I find it ironic, sir, that they played to a score in this recent All-Star game, and these newfangled millennial NBA fans are digging it. And it was
they ate it up with a spoon.
Yeah. They ate it up with a spoon and dribbled all over the remains.
Mm-hmm.
They ate it up with...
Look, I get why they made the change.
Right.
So the the game that we saw, and mind you, Snowman fans, when I had a conversation with Brian, I think it was a couple of years back, where I mentioned to him, in the All-Star game, they select who they play on each side.
Yep.
And he said, "What? They do what? You mean to tell me the game is not East versus West anymore?" I said, "Yep, the game is not that anymore. You got one team captain versus another, and it's like a glorified pickup game."
Mm-hmm.
So I get why they need to have that tweak, because they saw 3 years of this glorified pickup game where it was like, okay, these guys don't even have an interest in playing defense. So I get it.
Yeah.
Give them a little more incentive to play defense. I get it. Although in that game, until the fourth quarter, they didn't play any defense there either. But
case rested.
Right.
And
so I get the concept.
And my
so
additional,
you fight for every quarter, you win every quarter, you're supposed to have that, and I get it. But they still didn't play any defense the first three. Still didn't.
Nope.
Sorry.
Nope. My additional thought is the following.
It just don't add up!
How do you explain that?
So even though people are saying that was a great game, the end was not so bad. I'll admit that.
Mm-hmm.
The end was not so bad.
The end was okay.
It
big
was
time,
okay.
However,
now I would say the end would have been better if they didn't end with a free throw, but the end was okay. I got it. However,
it was everything before that moment where they could.
That ruined it for me.
It did.
Yeah. And the things that they did to make it interesting, I like. Donating to charity, which team wins that quarter.
Yes.
I like that.
I like that idea. I do like that idea.
That's a wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Out of all the inventions, the newfangled inventions for the All-Star Weekend, that's the one I do like. Mm-hmm. That's the one I will definitely co-sign on.
Yes.
And you can still do that with a running score.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, you can do that. If that was the only change they would have made, I would have taken a look. Let me be real. Maybe I would have taken a look. If you put money on the line for your favorite charity at the end of each quarter, yeah, you'll get my attention. I can deal with that. The problem? They reset the score after every damn quarter.
3 tip-offs. Does a game, unless it goes into overtime, need to have 3 tip-offs?
I believe I can answer that. I believe I can answer that like this.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So, cut to the fourth quarter, and when I saw they're playing to a point, the moment I saw that, I said, they're biting hard off a big 3.
Oh, yeah.
That was the very first thing I thought. They're biting hard off the big 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made me proud that Cube said, it's great that the NBA is doing this, but give credit where it's due.
And they won't.
And he's right. And they won't.
He's absolutely
and he's right.
He's absolutely right. Should give credit where it's due. Should give credit where it's due. Ice Cube came up with that. And the NBA, being the thieves that they are, will not give credit where it's due. And I hope there is a ton of karma that comes their way for that. Because that's not right. It's not right.
So, people could say this was a win. And look, Chicago knows how to pull on events.
Yes.
So I had no issue with how your hometown was going to put on the event. I knew
none.
They were going to do a first-class event.
Yep.
That was not even an issue for me, and I was right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything was first class. This is Chicago. They know how to do it upright. So I had no issue with that. But what the NBA put forth, for the possible exception of the Rising Stars game and doing charity after each quarter.
Yep.
Huge misses, man. Huge misses. I don't even recognize the weekend anymore. I don't recognize the weekend. You know, when you and I were children, man, when we were in grammar school and junior high school, and we actually would look forward
to the All-Star Weekend.
You remember we would look forward to All-Star Weekend?
Yes.
You remember that? We would look forward to it.
Well, I would be talking with every one of my friends, and we're talking about who should be in the All-Star game, who shouldn't be in the All-Star game. You look forward to that. You absolutely, when we were growing up, would look forward to the All-Star game. You want to see your favorite players in it because, as you've said on this program quite effectively, it's an all-star game.
Yeah. It's an all-star game. So, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face and until the NBA corrects this. All-star game. Why is it that you have non-all-stars participating in the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Then you might as well scratch all-star off of it and just say
the weekend break. You may as well just say the weekend break.
Yeah. NBA weekend break or NBA family reunion. One of these two names would fit.
Because it's not an all-star weekend.
It's
not all-star weekend. It is not all-star weekend. And I totally agree with you. Chicago knows how to put on events, especially sporting events. I had no issue or no worry. But letting the NBA take over All-Star Weekend, man, it's a gigantic whiff.
Yeah.
It's a gigantic whiff.
It was a whiff.
Yeah. And now, I know we're going to get pushback for this, but I don't care. I'm saying bring it. I'm absolutely saying bring it. Because what I saw for All-Star Weekend was bogus. Flat out bogus. It is not the same thing and hasn't been for a while. You can miss me. You can miss me. I'll borrow from you. You can miss me with, oh, this was a great time. This was a great game. It was a great idea to have them play to a point total. Sorry, Ice Cube beat you to it. You can miss me with, it was a great dunk contest. Aside of Aaron Gordon, who the hell are these people? You can miss me with, it was a great three-point contest. Aside of Devin Booker, who the hell are these people? I repeat my comment.
Mm-hmm.
And unless Larry Bird is going to suit up, unless Magic Johnson's going to suit up, or we're going to see MJ take off from the free throw line, I don't want to see it again. I will not watch again. And on top of that, if you look at the decoration of the floor, I understand you want to honor the city of Chicago with its famous, world-famous skyline.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they only put Chicago All-Star 2020 on each of the baselines. Back in the day when it was the All-Star game, they would make the floor and they would honor the team that hosted it.
Mm-hmm.
They
would, sir.
They have not since 2005. And it's absolutely bogus. Yeah.
And then you look at the product before, like you said, 2005. Just look at the product. It doesn't resemble anything all-star unless you're talking about the game, and even the game itself is not all that great.
It really isn't.
I mean, I don't even have to go. I don't even have to go back to when we were children.
No.
One of the greatest All-Star games. I know you'll remember this too. 2001.
Yes.
That's one of the greatest All-Star games. The West were up, and I think they were up double digits. And the East had the pride to say, "Oh no,
you ain't getting us.
No, we're not going to fold the tent. You ain't going to come out here with a W." And led by Allen Iverson, they marched back and they won the game.
In the final seconds.
That's what I want to see. In the final seconds. That's what I want to see in an all-star game. Guys who I love to see, who are the best of the best, have pride in saying, you know what, I'm representing this team, and I'm going to come out with a W. And I know I'm on this floor, one of the 10 best that's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see in all-star games and all-star weekends. Instead, we see events such as when there's a breakaway dunk that's about to happen, and it's a 4-on-1. Instead of the defender actually trying to defend the ground, he lays down because he doesn't want to be posterized. That's what we see.
And
that was recent.
Horrible.
That's not
horrible to me.
That is not the All-Star game I want to see.
I want to hear this kind of introduction too. I want to hear this kind of introduction again. As I get this queued up, and I think this is a perfect way. This is a perfect way to end it. 1988, Chicago Stadium. Again, I love Common and the way he introduced the players. But can we just get some old school like this? Can we get an introduction like that where 18,204 people are yelling their lungs out for their local star? And a travesty that Zach LaVine was not elected to the All-Star game for the Chicago Bulls. There was not one representative of the Chicago Bulls, and Zach